Plenty of fireworks, trades, and some really good and really head-scratching picks in the first round of the 2025 NFL Draft. Our reactions to everything that went down Friday night and a quick peek at what'll happen, or Thursday night, and a quick peek at what'll happen on Friday on day 2 of the NFL Draft. On today's Peacock and Williamson.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The first round of the NFL Draft did not disappoint, and we're glad you hung out with us throughout the process to get us here. And if you're new to the program, welcome. Hang out with us every single day all the way until we get to the next NFL Draft. And you can subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you listen to your podcasts. And today's episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. And LinkedIn helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedon NFL. Terms and conditions apply. We did get some trades in the end, Matt, and there were some fireworks, and it started early. The Jacksonville Jaguars and Gladstone, the new GM, the Jags said, you know what? I'm going to be just as active as my old boss was, Les Snead, with the Los Angeles Rams, and the Rams are always up to something. The Rams were up to something in this draft, and the Jaguars said, that's what we're going to do too. They went up to the number 2 pick in the draft. We're going to skip right over Cam Ward because we knew that was coming. And I totally get that pick. I don't think we need to break that down any further for Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans. And now you just try to develop your quarterback there. But Travis Hunter is a Jacksonville Jaguar. And you said something off the air, Matt, about some of these trades. And paraphrasing you, which I totally agree with, who's the big winner in the NFL draft? All those teams that traded down and got extra first-round draft picks.
Yeah, that's what I said. I mean, anyone got a first-round pick next year, sign me up, because I don't like this draft very much. I'll roll the dice that next year's is better. Now, this trade's really interesting to me because I think the Jags clearly have a plan, and they need a second corner. They need a second receiver. I get the hunch he'll be receiver first, but who knows? I mean, either way works because it gives them 2 positions, 2 birds, 1 stone, potentially. And frankly, I always say this, that I always pick one player right before every draft. Who do you think has the best chance to be a Hall of Famer? It's Hunter, and it's not even close. So do the Browns go down in history as they traded away from a transcendent, unbelievable player? That's a possibility. And both these teams have such a bad track record. It's like they both will lose, you know?
Yeah, it's like the Browns' thing ever if they trade out of a future Hall of Famer and a cheat code player that ends up being actually the first. Like, I just don't think you can physically play that many plays in the NFL. So,
I agree.
You got to pick one. And so which one is it? And we'll find out. It feels like, more wide receiver than corner potentially with the Jacksonville Jaguars. But we'll see. And if he's allowed to play both. But then if he's allowed to play both and it's part-time, because you just laid out they need a wide receiver too, they need a cornerback too. If he's that's not good enough.
That's not fair. I mean, they need a wide receiver and cornerback TOO. Right. I guess is a better way of putting it. Okay.
Okay. Not number 2, but a TOO.
Right. I don't know if he's better than Brian Thomas, but they'll be good together. You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah. There'll be a lot of ways that career could go with Travis Hunter, but you got to take the swing at pick number 2. Did you need to move up to do that? And was it worth it in the end? We will find out. And then and in the end, guess what? It was Mason Graham that still went pick number 5. So it was chalk. It was just the Cleveland Browns instead after moving down and collecting the Jaguars' first round pick next year. Hold on. The full trade this was not cheap to go up 3 picks either. And so
that's the thing. I love the haul the Browns got.
From that standpoint, it's a very good trade from the Browns. And when you're just like black and white looking at things, say, hey, you move down 3 picks in the first round and you get a second and a future second this year, which is high second rounder and a future first. Then that's a great trade, in my opinion. So I
don't think the Jags will win the Super Bowl. I don't think that's going to be 32.
Yeah, and they did a little pick swap of 4ths, and there was a 6th rounder in there. But essentially, the Jaguars gave up pick number 36 in this draft, so the Brown's about to double dip here in early in round 2 of this draft, and you got to think one of those picks might be a quarterback. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then they got next year's first round pick from the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is significant in that trade up.
No doubt. I love the haul they got. And frankly, I don't have a huge problem with the Graham pick. But BP, I've been thinking about this for 24 hours straight about Will Campbell and Mason Graham are the Spider-Man meme of each other.
Yep.
I hate both these picks in some regard. I think they are both so safe, and I understand that. And this is a terrible draft to pick 4, 5, 6, etc. But when both those dudes walked on the stage, I looked at Will Campbell and that doesn't look like Orlando Pace or Jonathan Ogden. He's got this narrow body. And then Graham walks on the stage. And I'm like, that doesn't look like Chris Jones or DeForest Buckner or, come on. Those are the best players at their positions. Come on.
And honestly, Mason Graham, and this is not something you would hear me say often, but Mason Graham, I think, needs a stylist too, because he doesn't do himself any favors with he always wears
just, hanging off him and right.
And even when he's just in workout gear, put on one of these fancy hoodies that are cut off at the sleeves or whatever. He's always just wearing a t-shirt that looks like he got it off the rack, Kmart or whatever. It's just he just looks it all the time. Yeah,
he just looks so small and unimposing.
But man, when you see him with his when you see him in his Michigan uniform, he looks like a beast to me. So I got no problem with the Mason Graham pick. I think he's one of the better players in this draft. And in the end, the goal is to draft good players. And I do think that the Pats and the Browns did draft good players at 4 and 5. Are they Hall of Fame guys? Are they, the most?
Well, not Walter Jones.
Yeah, they're not that. But I think they did get good players, and that's the name. Some of the teams did not draft good players in the first round. We'll find out a lot more in future years about which one of those guys it is. But we know from history that these guys didn't all hit. I think there's a much better chance that 4 and 5 hit than some other picks.
I just think they're underwhelming prospects for where they went. But I do want to mention both are good culture setters. That needs to happen in both those buildings. They have high floors. They're good culture setters. They're not going to be superstars. I'll bet everything I got on that.
And in the end, I know there was the trade, but picks 1 through 7 ended up being as chalky as all of the mock drafts. All of the mock drafts.
Yeah, you're right. Genty.
Right. It went Ward, Hunter, Carter, Campbell, Genty, 6 to the Raiders. It went Armand Membo, 7 to the Jets.
Then it got a little weird. Yeah.
It got weird. And that's when things got a little bit fun. What were your thoughts about the next grouping of picks here? We had Tet McMillan going to the Carolina Panthers at 8, Kelvin Banks going 9 to the New Orleans Saints, and then Colston Loveland finishing out the top 10 with the Chicago Bears.
It's fine. Again, I don't want to pick in the top 10 of this draft, so you can't criticize a team when there's nothing great to pick from. It's not like, did you take Joe Alt or Latham or Harrison or Neighbors? None of these guys are at that level to me. I love the Membo pick. I understand the McMillan and Banks pick, but I'd have a hard time telling you that they're top 10 players at their positions or in this draft.
And that's kind of where I'm at, because you can say, well, Will Campbell and Mason Graham might not look the part of top 5 picks traditionally, but man, I'll take those picks over a move tight end at 10 or
Banks.
Right. Banks was one of those guys in the process. Talked a lot about him a lot with the 49ers, potentially at 11. It's just he's good, but I'm not super excited about that. And especially in the top 10, Tet McMillan at least could go big. And that's an interesting one, trying to help out their quarterback when basically they told the world, we got to draft defensive players and defensive linemen and edge rushers. And everyone knew they needed it. And they went away from that and went with the wide receiver, man.
And I do give him credit for that. I mean, Bryce Young is very happy, and that's goal number 1 of the Panthers organization, is make the first overall pick as successful and happy and comfortable as possible. And I think people know I give the Saints a lot of crap. I would not build my team the way they do. But Mickey Loomis has dedicated a lot of resources over the years to offensive line. And 2 years in a row going tackle, that's right up my alley. I mean, I get it. I just don't love the players.
Right. And so, and the quarterback wasn't the right pick for them either there.
No.
When they were going great, what did they have? An awesome offensive and defensive line as well. But that offensive line was one of the best in the NFL. just need a Drew Brees to line up behind them, right? And where are you going to find that? I don't know. Maybe that's a day 2 conversation. Drew Brees was a day 2 pick, by the way, originally. Let's talk picks 11 through 32. Take a quick peek at day 2 of the NFL draft as well next. This episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. As a small business owner, your work doesn't end when the clock hits 5. Your business is always on your mind, which means when it's time to hire, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free. Share it with your network and get qualified candidates all in one place. And LinkedIn knows that you're wearing so many hats, so they make it easy. New features like helping you write job descriptions and then quickly getting your job in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. And when you add the hiring frame, the hashtag hiring frame to your picture, your profile picture, it doubles your reach to qualified candidates. No wonder 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helps them find high quality hires. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. San Francisco 49ers going with Mykel Williams, big defensive lineman, big defensive end out of Georgia, who actually went ahead of his teammate, which wasn't the way things were getting mocked for most, if not all, of the draft process. Jalon Walker going a little bit later, pick 15 to the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons becoming one of these teams that is going to be an annual team that shocks us. Apparently, they're a fun team in the NFL drafts, man. Tyler Booker shockingly going to pick 12 at the Dallas Cowboys. You had Kenneth Grant 13 to the Miami Dolphins. Tyler Warren was one of those chalky picks. They ended up just sticking and picking the guy that I think they probably had pretty high on their list and is one that was commonly mocked to them at pick 14. Mentioned Walker to the Falcons at 15. Walter Nolan to the Cards at pick 16. A couple boomer bust guys here in the middle of the first round. Shamar Stewart going 17 to the Cincinnati Bengals. Gray Zabel, offensive lineman, listed as a guard, I believe, for them. We'll see. Guard center, see what happens there out of North Dakota State for the Seattle Seahawks. Emeka Egbuka, the second wide receiver off the board to the Bucks. And then Jahdae Barron finishing out the top 20 DB, probably a nickel in my opinion, out of the University of Texas to the Denver Broncos, man.
Yeah, some quick synopsis here is, first of all, Mykel Williams goes at 11, and I immediately thought my man BP really knows his team. He's smarter than the average bear on the Niners, that's for sure. And then exactly 10 picks later, I said, M-Dub knows his team too. He's not going Shedeur Sanders.
Can we take a victory lap here with Mykel Williams, who identified early a few weeks ago when nobody was mocking him here, and all of a sudden the Niners actually tried to trade up a couple spots because they saw him all of a sudden go into the Saints and all these mock drafts. They weren't able to complete a deal. They tried to. Mykel was there for them. It was their guy at defensive end, and man, you nailed it. Even with Shedeur Sanders on the board, the Pittsburgh Steelers passed on the quarterback, went with the defensive lineman, as Matt Williamson told you they would, and it was Derek Harmon out of Oregon.
Yep, we know our teams, and trust me, I was at the facility. I'm going to meet Derek Harmon in a couple hours and interviewed Omar Khan after. They had no hesitation whatsoever. So a lot of picks in between are interesting, though. The 3 out of 4 years, the Cowboys have drafted an offensive lineman in the first round named Tyler, and they found Tyler Beebe is a starting center last year too, which is insanity to me. But Jerry Jones might be losing his mind. I think there's a chance of that. But with all respect, I mean, but he trusts. I mean, he understands where, the lineman thing. Aikman and Urban and Emmett are great, but give me Larry Allen and Nate Newton and Stepnoski,
Yeah, it's funny because they showed the live picture of Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys, the whole Jones family and the whole front office there in the Dallas Cowboys war room, and they're excited because the Niners pick just happened and everyone was a little workmanlike. And then they show the Dallas Cowboys and they're all jumping around, dancing. They're like, "Yeah, we got our guys." Like, oh, they look really excited. What did the Dallas Cowboys do? And it was like, Tyler Booker. It's like the least exciting player you could pick there.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I think Tyler Booker is awesome. And I mean, I don't know that he's going to be the next
I told Wig, I'm like, he's not Faneca or Hutchinson or Nelson in the first round, but in this draft for that team, I'm cool with it.
I think he's going to be a good player.
And he's going to be a good player, and they're going to have a good line, and they're going to run the ball, and
it's high. It's high.
It's real high. I mean, I'm not taking that guard at 12 in most drafts, but there's nothing else to pick from. So I'll take that guard at 12. And I made the joke on the show earlier, like whatever running back they take in the 4th round is going to be on my fantasy team.
Right. That's a great point. There's a lot of good running backs still. The Cowboys got to get one of those. I kind of feel same about Gray Zabel. It's like, I mean, small school projection in the NFL. He's a nice player. Liked him. He's good at the Senior Bowl, but pick 18. I think most years you would try to hope for a little bit more upside. And who knows, maybe he's a gold jacket center in his career, but we'll find out what that looks like. And the Packers finally drafting a wide receiver at pick number 23. The Chargers going with an offensive playmaker in Omarion Hampton, which I didn't really quite see that coming. I knew they needed an offensive lineman. I knew they needed an offensive player and a running back there, but I thought they might have gone to one of the lines if the tight ends were all gone for them there, or potentially another wide receiver for them. They went Omarion Hampton, the running back, which is kind of a Harbaugh style of a pick.
Sure.
There. He values the running game. Donovan Jackson going at 24, and then things get really interesting with the trades that happen at 25 and 26. Giants coming up to get Jaxson Dart, and the Falcons coming up to get not only one, but their second edge pass rusher, speed rusher. And both those picks are fascinating. So we got to spend some time there. First, it was the trade up with the Giants at 25 and the Texans and Rams moving out of this first round. Jaxson Dart to the Giants. What do you think?
Yeah, and I'm going to rewind just a smidge here. I keep talking about the podcast I just had with Wig. I've got a running joke with him that the Dolphins have way too many Ferraris, not enough dump trucks. Well, they got themselves a big old dump truck. So I like that. I had same reservations with you about Walker's size at 15. But at 15 to the Falcons that have never had pass rush in 2 decades, that's a gift from above. I think Walter Nolan could be really good in that environment. I don't trust the Bengals to develop Shamar Stewart at all. Igbuka just seems like more of a bonus prize. I mean, how many receivers do you need? But I like the player, and Barron's a little bit of that too. Like, not needs, but good players, and keep the strength to strength. I'm cool with that. I'm speed rounding like crazy here. Yeah. I'm a big Omarion Hampton fan. Total slap in the face to Najee Harris. Golden is worth this pick. You know, Watson's not going to be there. I'm very cool with that. I hate the Pearce trade up, and I understand the Dart trade up. You know, the Dart trade up at least is, I think owners said, okay, you can have your Abdul Carter, but you better get a quarterback in this draft. Yes, sir, we'll get you a quarterback. And they didn't give up that much to get him. So, fine. He might be, I made the joke earlier, like, when they all get fired at the end of the year, if they win 5 or 6 games, the new coach will come in and be like, I don't like Jaxson Dart. We're going back to the drawing board, and he'll turn into Will Levis, but it's worth a shot. At least take a bite at the apple. Giving up a future first for James Pearce, though, as bad as their pass rush has been, I think the Rams totally fleeced them. I think the Rams are a huge winner in this draft with 2 firsts next year.
Yeah, I mean, that was, and you fall all the way back to 26, but in this draft, it's in the way things went in the first round, might be a real good player for the Rams that pick 46, and they've got extra picks. Maybe they could just jump back up a few spots to really get their guy if they want to. They got a second, which is pick number 46 from the Falcons. They got a 7th rounder this year, and then a 2026 first round pick for the Falcons to go up 20 spots from 46 to 26 to draft James Pearce. They also got a 3rd rounder back this year as well. Mm-hmm. So that 2nd rounder is more of a pick swap. So it's, you move up around, and then you also it's a lot of a round too, because that's the very, very end comp pick 101. So that's 50 picks, 55 picks going up there from the 3rd to the 2nd for the Rams tomorrow or today, as we are on Friday. I don't know what day it is, but that future first is a big one. And when the Falcons already got their guy and Walker falls in your lap, I feel like I get doubling down on the pass rush, but obviously it's a huge win for the Rams. And to be honest with you, Matt, James Pearce and Jalen Walker have like 1.5 pass rush moves put together.
So I was thinking too, they're both so little and going to get pushed around. I mean, they're only good when you're winning in the dome, and that's fine. I mean, I like when teams, the Packers do this a lot, when they really attack a need and double down. I just think they spent way too much for two guys that weigh a combined 480 pounds or something,
The Giants didn't have to dip into the 2026 first round to get
like
their
that.
trade up with the Houston Texans, which is good. I still don't know if Jaxson Dart was worth trading up for, especially with the way the board fell and there's quarterbacks available. Dart would still be there right now, I think.
I don't think he's particularly good, but
I don't know if anybody else was ready to go trade up for Jaxson Dart if the Giants did it. So that was a little bit of just, that you need it. And it's a panic move and you're forced to do something because of past mistakes building your quarterback room, I think is what the lesson is there. But that was a second and 2/3, one of the thirds next year, one of the thirds this year to go up.
I brushed over the Donovan Jackson pick. I just wanted to at least give the Vikings fans a sentence on that. I mean, they added 2 guards and a center this offseason. I mean, that might be one of the best offensive lines in the league and one of the best offenses in the league and one of the most quarterback-friendly offenses I can ever remember. And I also think it's just a bet on, well, Flores is a really good defensive coordinator. We don't even have to give him good players. He'll just scheme it up and figure it out,
Here's what I find odd about the Donovan Jackson pick at 24 to the Vikings, and it's not the player necessarily. It's that if you were going to draft the guard at 24, did the Giants and the Falcons not call you to make those trade ups before?
Right. And you don't have any day 2 picks.
And you've got 4 selections. You're going to draft the guard in the first round. Would you not have been willing to move down, or did they just not call? Did the Falcons just want to help out their buddies in LA and say, hey guys, here's a bonus. We're going to trade up. We're not going to offer these picks to another team in the NFC. We'll offer them to you instead. I guess
guards were going quick though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of draft we're in here. There's 2 of them off the board and there's only one other top tier guy left. Maybe they didn't want to move out.
I mean, if the Giants or the Falcons offered me either one of those picks at 24 or trades at 24, but yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
So, if they turned those down, if those offers didn't come, which would also be weird if you're trying to trade up, I imagine they called other teams, the Giants and the Falcons. So that's the head scratching part of that one for me. Not that Donovan Jackson's a bad player. It was just that, did you turn down those trades at 24?
Because you had to have the guard,
Right.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that, but that's a good point.
All right. The rest of round 1 and a little peek at what's going to happen potentially in round 2 of the NFL draft next. This episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. And by the way, there's still NFL draft props to be played at FanDuel. It's not only about the first round. You can still bet on which team's going to win the next Super Bowl as well at FanDuel. But right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into player props. And when it comes to NBA playoff games, 3-pointers, steals, assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big and make those games a little bit more interesting than they already are. So don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com or download the app and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. That is FanDuel.com. At the end of round 1, there was a little minor swap, and I feel like the Chiefs and the Eagles are just messing with folks at this point with that little move at the back of the first round. But it was Malachi Starks going 27. I think he's a nice fit, better fit than Eman Worry as far as stylistically what the Ravens need at safety there. So they go Starks at 27, Tyleik Williams, which is somebody I was kind of looking for the Niners potentially in round 2. He goes all the way up at 28 to the Lions. Connerly goes to 29, the Washington Commanders. Maxwell Hairston out of Kentucky, 4.28 speed cornerback. That was a huge need, and a lot of corners were mocked to the Bills, and so I'm sure they were happy to get Hairston there at the end of round 1. Then you had the Eagles going up one spot with the team they beat in the Super Bowl to grab Jihad Campbell at 31. And then the slide falls for the injured Josh Simmons at pick 32 to end round 1s to the Kansas City Chiefs. I love the Campbell pick. I like the Simmons pick at that point. I get him not going higher, but he might be the best left tackle in this draft if his knee checks out, and they don't necessarily need him to play week 1. They have some offensive linemen ready to go this season. So for that reason, I love the pick for the Kansas City Chiefs. In fact, I like a lot of these. Tyleik Williams next to DJ Reader.
Good Good
Are
luck.
they trying to? Is this like the anti-tush push? Like that is monstrous inside for the Lions right now.
He certainly fits their persona. Big physical. I'm a Tyreek Williams fan. It sounds like you are too. For our respective teams, gave him a lot of thought. My biggest takeaway at the end here, though, is the really good, smart teams got really good, smart players. I know that Campbell and Simmons have some injury stuff floating out there, and the Eagles never invested in linebackers, but now they have two big-time investments in linebackers, both of whom can rush the passer.
Yeah.
I think that, that's important here. And I do think Simmons is the best left tackle in this draft. And you just gave him to Andy Reid, who came out and said, he'll absolutely be ready for training camp. And Starks is so Raven. I mean, we'll take a safety. He's going to be good. He'll make Hamilton better. Keep a strength to strength. We're good.
One of the big stories is who's not drafted in round one every year. And this year, the biggest slider was Will Johnson. He's dealt with injuries through the season that ended his season and then throughout the process. And it was like, is he actually injured? Is he ducking the 40-yard dash? Didn't run a 40. Teams were clearly not comfortable with Will Johnson. And he's still on the board now as we head into round two. And he was a top 10 guy for most of this process for a lot of people who were filling out those mock drafts. And Mike Green, we know what his off field is, and teams clearly took him off the board in the first round. We'll see if that continues into the second round, but he was worthy of being a top 15 player because he's clearly the best pass rusher left in this draft. Dominic Ezeraku, also a very good pass rusher. We're talking about 35 combined sacks between those two guys that a team can grab here at the top of round two. Who else is your best available going into day two of the draft?
So I guess the betting favorite at noon on Friday for the first pick in round two is Shedeur. We'll see. I have my doubts. I totally understand it. That's fine. An exercise I do at 2:30 a.m. when I get home from the draft for Steelers.com that's not Steelers specific. They're just, Matt, give me the 20 best players available generically. And I have a list here alphabetically if you want me just to speed through them, just so people know.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Darius Alexander, Trey Amos, Luther Burden, Alfred Collins, Nick Enware, Ezeraku, as you mentioned, Green, as you mentioned, both Ohio State running backs, Jaden Higgins, Caleb Johnson, Will Johnson, as you mentioned, Milroe. I'm still a Milroe fan. Benjamin Morrison, Javon Revell, Shedeur, Carson Schlesinger, Nick Scourton, my man Tyler Shuck, and Mason Taylor. And I left a lot of really good players off there. Arroyo. I mean, a lot of those dudes. I think day two is as bad as I opened the conversation of hating on this draft. I think if we held a podcast tomorrow after day two, I would have a much different tone. I like the second, third round.
I mean, there's some dudes. Would you be shocked if Will Johnson or Luther Burden were perennial Pro Bowlers in the NFL?
Mm-mm.
I wouldn't be. I mean, I love Luther Burden. By the way, Luther Burden got in a little workout at about 12:59 a.m. So almost 1 a.m. in the morning. He had a tweet out and he had his gear and he was working out and he says, I'm going to make y'all pay. So
nice.
Luther Burden with a chip on his shoulder might be something that the team wants here early in round two. I love the fit of Will Campbell to the Raiders if he lasts to the fifth pick in the second round. Will Johnson. Sorry.
Yeah. We talked about him in the first round.
Yeah. He was back when, right? If he actually ran a 40, it got 4.49 or faster. He was going to be my shocker pick at pick 6 for the Raiders. So him in round 2, I think is phenomenal fit for Pete Carroll's defense. And just to reshuffle things because of all the trades, this is what we're looking at in round 2. You've got the Browns up twice in the first 4 picks. So at 33, it's Cleveland. Pick 34 now belongs to the Houston Texans. You got pick 35 is the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
Pick 4, Cleveland Browns in round 2. Then you've got the Raiders with the 5th pick in round 2, followed by the Patriots, and then Bears, Saints, Bears.
Yep. So those first 9, 2 teams will be picking twice.
Yes. And I could see the Bears utilizing that and kind of moving up and finding one of their guys here if they wanted to kind of move around and as they double dip. And you got to imagine a quarterback or 2 goes off the board. Steelers don't have a second round pick, so they just got to wait to round 3 and see if Milroe falls or Shuck or something, or could Milroe, Shedeur, and Shuck all go here in round 2?
Yeah, I'm very intrigued. I mean, I think we've learned over the years that sometimes when they don't go right away, they fall deep into round 3, some of these quarterbacks. And I don't think Shedeur is going to last much longer, but I mean, other than the Browns, of those teams, the Raiders and Saints, I think, are the only two that would be interested. And I don't think the Saints are in on Sanders.
Interesting.
The Bears are intriguing. Like, if they added Judkins and Green, like, oh, okay. You know.
Here's the thing with Shedeur. If the Browns liked him, not only did they pass on him at pick 2, moved down, passed on him at pick 5, clearly. Yeah. And I think people realized he wasn't going to go that high. But even with the extra picks, they didn't move up a single spot to go take him.
They have more firepower than the Giants to get to that point.
Even if they take him at 33, like, they're telling us that they are not in love with Shedeur Sanders. And to be honest with you, I would be shocked if he's still there after both of their second-round picks.
I totally get it. I mean, that's the Levis neighborhood. You know, like, that's the short leash neighborhood. You get a year or so, and then we're just going to move on. I mean, I said this about Dart. You know, like, if they take Sanders here, they still have 2 first-round picks next year. Is there any – what's the % chance Sanders is a starter a year from now, 2 years from now?
And I will say, Luther Burden's the most Shanahan receiver in this class. You can't let him fall to 43 for multiple reasons, because the Niners have some other needs, and I don't know if Kyle Shanahan's going to be able to stay away from him.
Can't help it.
And also that could be trouble for the rest of the league, because that's just too good of a combination there. And
is that what you want? I mean, would that be your ideal guy? I know you love him. I think he's motivated. Motivation was not.
I would for sure get it, and he would be worth the pick. I think they have some other needs. They still need to double dip on triple dip, quadruple dip on the defensive line. I think they need some offensive linemen as well. Ursery could be in play there. TJ Sanders is the one I mocked to them, defensive tackle out of South Carolina in the second round. So, and look for the Niners to be moving up too. So I wouldn't be shocked if they move up from 43. I would not be shocked at all if they move up from 75 in round 2 or round 3 as well, because they're an aggressive team, and John Lynch already tried to move up in round 1. It's like they can't hold their water. When they see a guy they like, they go get him. So don't be shocked for a Niners trade up as well on day 2.
And I'm sure there's other teams, but I know both of our teams have a buttload of comp picks coming next year. So one of my predictions is the Steelers will move something from next year to move up at some point today or tomorrow.
Yeah, I like that. I like that for the Steelers, move up from round 3 to secure Milrow. I feel like
that's the guy I'm infatuated with.
Yeah. What about Pickens on the move? And then utilize that pick to go get.
I think it's possible. I mean, he's pretty unlikable right now.
No doubt, tons of intrigue going into day 2 of the NFL draft. Matt and I will be back after the weekend to break everything down from not only day 2, but day 3 of the NFL draft. And that will continue all throughout the offseason. We get ready for 2025. So stick around and make sure you subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. Matt and I back post draft right here. Peacock and Williamson.